Hi everyone, welcome back to the second part of this wine tasting video series where in this video we're going to talk about smelling the nose of the wine, or in other words, trying to appreciate the aromas in a wine. Now, before we actually get into the practicals of things, let us just quickly run through the different types of aromas that you're looking for in a glass of wine, right? So there are basically three types of aromas. They are the primary aromas, the secondary aromas, and the tertiary aromas. Now, in a nutshell, these three aromas represent different moments in the life cycle of a wine. So now let's talk about primary aromas. So these aromas are actually found in the grapes itself. There are hundreds of different grape varieties that are used in the production of wines, and each grape variety will have its own distinctive aroma profile. So having said that, there are many other factors that further influence these primary aromas that are found in the grape varieties. So you have conditions like heat or the intensity of the sun, the proximity of these vineyards to the seas or the oceans, the altitude in which these vine regions are situated, plus the different types of soils that influence or impart these sort of minerally or certain signature characteristics to these aromas of these grape varieties. So just by smelling these primary aromas, you can try and deduct and find out what type of region do these wines come from. For instance, for white wines coming from a cooler climate region, you tend to find more fresh, zesty, citrus fruits like aromas. And for those wines coming from a warmer region, you would find more tropical or fruit forward types of aromas. And in the case of red wines, on one hand, you're going to find red wines from these cooler regions that tend to exhibit these tart red fruit characters like cranberries, raspberries, or strawberries. And on the other hand, you're going to find red wines that come from a warmer region that tend to exhibit these riper, dark fruit characters like dark plum, dark cherries, or blackberries. So now let's talk about secondary aromas. So these are aromas that are produced during the actual winemaking process. So first you have the process of fermentation. So this is when the microorganisms in the grape juice eat into the sugar and the nutrients and convert them into alcohol and carbon dioxide. Now during this process, there are hundreds of other flavor and aroma compounds that are created, okay, adding to another layer of complexity in the aroma profile of the wine. Now, some secondary aromas come in the form of fresh bread, which you can most likely find in champagne. Sometimes they come in the form of dairy aromas like butter, cream, biscuit, which you could find in certain white wines. Now, after the process of fermentation is completed, in some cases, certain white wines or almost all red wines are transferred into oak barrels. Now, during this step of the winemaking process, this is when secondary aromas like toast, cedar, vanilla, cinnamon, cloves, these aromas are leached into the wine from the oak barrel. Now, if this part is done right, these secondary aromas are going to blend in beautifully with the primary aromas, creating a complex, wonderful bouquet within the wine. And the third type of aroma is the tertiary aroma. So these aromas are developed during the aging process of the wine. So wines can age while they are in oak barrels. So you have certain fortified wines like port wines that can see up to 6 years in oak barrel. And during this time, tertiary aromas like coffee, toffee, chocolate, caramel are imbibed into the wine. Now, wines can also age in the bottle. In fact, the more years that the wine spends in the bottle, you'll notice that the aromatic profile of the wine starts to move away from the primary aromas of fruits and flowers and start developing more into the tertiary aromas of savory and earthy notes. So in the case of white wines, the older the white wine gets, you're going to start to get aromas of hazelnut, almonds, and honey. And in the case of red wines, the older those wines, the red wines get, they're going to start to develop more tertiary aromas of mushrooms, earth, and dried fruits.